You're listening to the Primal Happiness Show, a podcast dedicated to helping you thrive in this crazy modern world. Every Tuesday, we explore the nature of how our minds really work, what exactly the human animal requires to thrive, and how we can live happier and more fulfilling lives. If you're new here and haven't yet taken our free class, then there's no better place to get a jump start on reclaiming your primal happiness. It's where we'll guide you step by step through our antidote to today's modern world. Simply head on over to primalhappiness.co/antidote to get the free class and discover how to thrive without having to move to a planet that's not so crazy as ours. But now, your host, Leanne Brooke-Tyler.
Hello, my beautiful people. A huge warm welcome back to the show. In today's crazy modern world, men and women are living shallow, disconnected, and unfulfilling lives. So we created the path for those who are ready to reclaim their wildness and actualize their deepest gifts. The next crucible to open is going to be Waking the Wild Sovereign in June. The spaces are going to be incredibly limited for this one, and they will go fast as ever. So if you are feeling the call to sovereignty and your inner king or queen archetype, then do register your interest at primalhappiness.co/WTWS, and you will be the first to know when we do open for enrollment. Currently, we don't have any other offerings for you to join us in Walking the Path or Waking the Wild. But if you want to be the first to hear of the next opening, make sure you're in our Facebook group, which is facebook.com/group/primalhappiness, and subscribe to get our Moonly newsletter, which is at primalhappiness.co/moonly. And now onto this week's show. It's with Chris Lüttichau, one of my favourite guests, and I think now back for the third time. Chris is the founder of Northern Drum Shamanic Centre, a UK-based educational organisation offering a renewed perspective on traditional shamanic and medicine teachings and a safe grounding from which to learn them, established in 1998. In this show, we spoke about the power of dreams. We explored the shamanic perspective on dreams, the wisdom and guidance available in them, and practical actions you can take to create a deep and revelatory relationship with your dreams. Dreams are one of my absolute favourite things, and they're something I work with in all kinds of ways, personally and with our students. It's hard to believe it has taken this long, all these years, to record a show on this topic, but it was certainly worth the wait. I suspect you are going to love this episode. I really do. Let's dive in. Hello, Chris. A huge welcome back to the show.
Hello, and thank you for inviting me. It's good to be here.
Oh, this is our third time, because every time we record, we then find another, common jewel that we both really appreciate. It's like we have to now do a show on this one. So this, possibly more than the other two topics, were equally amazing topics, but dreams is something that is so dear to my heart. And I was saying to you, I think it was you that suggested it when we spoke last, and I said, I can't believe it. We've never done a show on dreams for the 7, 8 years that the show's been running. We've never done an episode on dreams, which I find absolutely mind-blowing, but obviously it was meant to be now with you. So here we are.
Yeah, the timing must be right then.
Yes, definitely. And what I particularly love is, and this has been true actually, particularly the first topic we did around intuition. For me, there's something about the shamanic lens on these kind of topics that provides a kind of real grounding. There's a basis there that, for me at least, provides a way in that's much more kind of practical and natural and ancient, that for me particularly has really been important. So what I'd love to do is start with asking you your sense of the shamanic perspective on dreams, because I know it's quite different to which isn't particularly grounded in an overall worldview. So I'd love to start there. How would you share what you see as that shamanic lens on dreams? Lens on dreams.
I would say that dreams and dreaming in general is very central in shamanism. And one example of that is that we normally kind of assume, because in the West, shamanism is generally taught as one of the main things is the drum journey. And so when we in the West seek information and guidance shamanically, then it's typically the drum journey that is used. Whereas in my experience amongst shamanic people in tribal settings, the main way they seek guidance is through dreams. And I would say that dreaming from a shamanic point of view is a way to contact and seek guidance and wisdom on a spiritual level. And there are tribes where the word for shaman basically means the one who dreams. So you can talk about sacred sleep, and that means basically that instead of just falling asleep at the end of the day, you do a little bit of preparation on a spiritual level, and you connect to the spirit world, and then the sleep becomes sacred sleep, as opposed to just falling asleep in a more or less unconscious way. And then during sleep, you seek contact with spirit through dreams. And traditionally, this was extremely important amongst shamanic tribal people, and I would say it still is today, because this is where they would get their personal guidance, but also guidance for the tribe. And inventions would come through dreams, and healing would come through dreams, and also guidance about how to do healing would also come in that way. And there might be dreams that provide predictions. Dreams traditionally amongst the shamans also is a source of finding their songs and other ceremonial guidance that enables them then to do the shamanic work in the waking state. So dreams are very, very central traditionally in shamanic cultures. And you could also look at our society today, where inventions that have had a huge impact on humanity have also come from dreams, including petrol, how to develop petrol. That was also through a dream that came. And there are many examples of scientists having received guidance in dreams. So it's not just something that belongs to the shamanic tribal people. It is also there in our modern day world, even though we don't pay much attention to it, and we don't kind of focus on it. And if we focused more on it, we would be able to get a lot more benefit from it, because most people spend about a third of their life sleeping, and it is basically a bit of a lost time. Of course, it does provide rest and rejuvenation for people, but on the level of consciousness, those 8 hours a night or whatever amount of time you sleep is a bit lost.
Yeah, wow. I love where we've started already. I particularly love what you've shared about how what you've seen is that night dreams are actually the main way a shaman in an Indigenous setting would work. And I think there's something really helpful about that. I think in our modern culture, we often are kind of drawn to, I guess, the more almost exaggerated forms of working with spirit. And so, that could be, whether that be plant medicine, but ways that are kind of like seem out of the ordinary, out of what we are already experiencing. And I think it's really helpful to recognize that actually something that's true to all of us, including modern humans, like dreams, is actually one of the most common and most powerful ways that a shaman would work. And I think that's a really helpful thing to know. And what I also love that has been really true for me personally, but way before I knew anything about shamanism, was how I could intentionally create a relationship with my dreams. I could intentionally connect and harness the power of my dreams purely by setting that intention. And I was doing that before I really knew what I was doing. And there's certainly more powerful ways of doing that. But for me, recognizing like, oh, I'm not just a kind of passive consumer of whatever just happens to show up in my dreams. I actually can choose into dreaming in ways that are going to be beneficial, which was something that I'd never known that before. I kind of like just, however many years ago, discovered that. But, and of course, again, this is ancient wisdom, but I that for me was one of those like, wow, why does no one tell us this? Like, we don't just go to sleep and dream whatever we dream. We can actually take an active role in that. So I'd love to hear you talk more about what you've, how we can more actively use dreams in those ways.
Yeah, good point. And what you described there, the fact that in the West we're not taught about how we can work with dreams and actively seek guidance in dreams. It has to do with that we have forgotten the sacred, basically. We are very rational, and we value logical thinking, and that realm of dreams is not logical. It is basically in the realm of poetry and the images and the symbols. So the language of dreams is basically the language of the soul. And we have kind of abandoned that to a large degree. So we are not
abandoned soul, really, haven't we?
Yeah.
That's something, sorry to jump in, but it's just you saying that is so timely. I had this, funny enough, in a dream. Maybe I'll talk about this in a bit more detail in a moment. But I had this absolute clarity in a dream 2 nights ago about soul and the modern world, and how that's what we've lost contact with and how important that is. And so, yeah, it's not just we've lost lost the understanding of the language of the soul. We've really lost contact with soul in our modern culture.
Yeah, absolutely. And that is what dreams do. They take us to that level, which is the soul. And if we then choose to work consciously with dreams and work towards what I call sacred sleep, then we can deliberately get contact with our soul. We can get guidance on that level of the soul in the dream time. And dreams basically always guide us towards our power, towards our strength, and dreams always try to help us awaken, even if difficult dreams and challenging dreams, they are moving us towards our soul. That is basically the essence of what dreams do. And then in shamanic traditions, they then have different ways of influencing the dreams, so that you can deliberately seek guidance, for example, to very specific questions. You can ask for input in the dreams. And of course, when it's working shamanically, that would mean that the guidance, the input you are seeking comes from a high place, comes from the place of higher knowing. It comes from the spirit world, basically. So in that context, it's good to then understand something about the relevance of dreams, because you can say that there are different categories of dreams. So some dreams are not that significant, and they may have to do with what you have eaten the night before. And there's not necessarily any guidance or wisdom in those kind of dreams. So it's important to...
Or another example, I suppose, which is similar but not food-based, I think ultimately it's kind of processing what's just happened, isn't it? Like, for example, if I've just watched something or read something just before I go to sleep and I don't set any intention for my sleep, I will often kind of be like just processing, dreaming about whatever it is that I just consumed. And so I think food is a good one, but it can be something I've watched or something I've read, then just kind of gets into my dream. And it doesn't feel there's anything particularly revelatory about it. It's just kind of like processing through it.
That's right. And so you could say that that's the first category of dreams out of three main categories, where you don't necessarily need to pay much attention to those kinds of dreams. The second one is reflective dreams. So those are dreams that are telling you what's going on in your life, telling you what you need to look at, telling you through images, generally maybe what is the next step for you to take, and the issues you need to look into, improvements you need to make. So those are the kind of dreams that psychologists and therapists, they will look at and interpret. But in shamanism, there's then a third category of dreams, and they are sacred dreams. They are big dreams. They are shamanic dreams, and they are dreams that come from higher consciousness. And when you have one of those dreams, then you wake up with the impact of the dream. You feel the impact of that dream, and you know something unusual, something special took place there. So it's a good idea to learn to be able to discern what is the relevance of the dream, and is it in the first, second, or third category. And then if it is a big dream, then you begin to work with it. And shamanically, there are different ways to do that. But that third category of dreams, that is what you seek shamanically, traditionally. The one way, there's like a method for how to ask for those kind of dreams is that you take a bit of time, maybe 15 to 20 minutes before going to sleep at night. And the first thing you do is then to burn some incense or some herbs. It could be sage, and you offer the sage to the sky and the earth and the four directions. And then you can cleanse yourself with the smoke. And by doing that, you are making yourself clean so that you're ready to meet spirit in the dreams. Mm-hmm. And after that, you then call upon your power animal and ask it to come to you. And you sit with the power animal, you make contact with it, and then you ask it to come into your dreams this night and bring you guidance or bring you an answer to a specific question. And you give yourself a bit of time in this preparation so that it reaches deep into your subconscious mind. Mm. And then when that feels complete, you go to sleep. And as you go to sleep, again, you have this intention that you will meet your power animal. The power animal will bring you the answer. So that is one way to do what could be termed dream induction. Mm-hmm. So to basically use the dream time in a shamanic way for seeking guidance.
Wonderful, thank you. I found that this isn't exactly scientific. I've no idea if what I'm about to say is actually true. It's more my sense of it. I found that I started to have, it seemed fairly spontaneously, but saying that, I have, I guess, more intentionally been working with my dreams over the last few years anyway, but it felt like I started to have that last category of dreams, the shamanic dreams, over the last couple of years. And the tone of them or the experience of them is very distinctly different to the other two types of dreams. Even as I was having them, I was aware that I was having a dream that was almost like a teaching, and often quite direct. The difference I found between the last kind of dream, the shamanic dream, and the first two was that they seemed less metaphorical. It seemed almost like a direct, like, this is what this is how this works. Rather than speaking, it's not to say there weren't images and sensations attached, but it just seemed a much more direct, this is what you need to know. And I'd wake up knowing I'd had a different kind of dream. I'd love to know your sense of whether that's been your experience, whether you'd say that's typical, because for me, it was undeniable that this was a different kind of dream.
Yeah. Well, one example I can give from my own experience, many years ago, I was working with aluminum and, cutting aluminum pipes and filing it. And then I had a dream one night where somebody came and showed me a list of hazardous material. And at the top of the list was aluminum. Mm-hmm. And then I woke up and the dream was very strong. It had very strong impact on me. So I thought I better research this. And this was before the internet. Mm-hmm. So I had to make phone calls and so forth. But I found out that aluminum dust is very toxic and very dangerous. And I was not using masks or anything. to protect myself. And so, of course, that all changed after I found out about the aluminum there. So even though it was not like, as you could say, it's not necessarily what you would term a spiritual dream, but it was definitely an extremely important one, and health-wise, and that, of course, affects spirituality and everything else.
Yes.
So I'm in that category of big dreams. Some of those dreams are very concise and don't need any interpretation. They are basically just telling you this is the way things are, and that is the way also in shamanic tribal settings, that dreams from, for example, ancestors are seen, that the ancestors are guiding us through our dreams, and when that guidance happens, it's often in that very precise form that you talked about there, that you are getting a message. They say that very often the ancestors will come disguised, so you don't necessarily realize that it's one of the ancestors or a spirit guide that has communicated to you. But the nature of the communication and the messages is exactly that this is the way things are. It's a concise message that you can then look at and make a decision whether you're going to follow up on that or not.
Yeah, yes. Yeah, I found that, I love what you just said there about you may not know that it's an ancestor or a spirit guide. And I found with those kind of dreams, often there'll be a disembodied voice just speaking to me, and I won't know who is speaking. But it's the disembodied voice is just telling me whatever the information is. And it's not something, I don't experience that kind of disembodied voice in any other kinds of dreams. It's only in those dreams where I'm being told something and it's like, I've no idea who's talking. It's just a clear voice saying, this is how whatever the situation is.
Yes. And the way we see that shamanically is that it is basically about the spirit contact in the dream state. Very often through ancestors that somehow are close to you, but it can also be spirits that are not related to you on a genetic level, but are your guides, and the more you are open to working with ancestors and spirits, the more you open the door to that communication. And so that little method I talked about earlier, where you take a bit of time before sleep with the power animal, you could also invite in spirit guides with that method. And that really opens the door to guidance when you are dreaming.
I love that.
Yeah, go ahead.
I was going to ask, so if someone's listening and doesn't, I guess, relate to themselves as, being a shaman and kind of previously having worked in this way, would you say that this is something that is available to everyone to dream in this way? Would you say it's something that's, beneficial to everyone? Or would you say it's only for certain kinds of people and you'll kind of know if this is for you?
I would say that working in this way with dreams is for everybody, like everybody who are, mentally healthy, relatively healthy, and emotionally and so forth. That information, that help that is available in the dreams is there for everyone. And on a spiritual level, the ancestors, the spirits are very eager to help, but we need often to open the door to them and invite them in. But of course, there are people who are more open naturally to dream work than other people, and that's how it's always been in a tribal setting. Often, there would be women who weren't necessarily shamans, but they got information in their dreams, and that wisdom that came through them was always listened to. So that takes us to another area, which is dream sharing in the morning, which is a very, very common practice in shamanism, traditional shamanism, where it is seen that invaluable, precious wisdom comes through the dream. And in the morning, the families would then listen to everyone's dreams, including the children, because often the children would bring information through their dreams that could benefit the tribe. So dream sharing is a very widespread shamanic practice, and it's only in recent years in the West that we have given that up. If you go back in our Western culture, back in time, there was also dream sharing there, because the guidance that comes through can basically save life and make life easier, and lots and lots of valuable information comes through dreams. So that's another thing that we can do today in a family, or even if it's just a couple, to share the dreams in the morning, and you will begin to discover the power that comes through the dreams. And it turns out actually that surprisingly high percentage of dreams are foretelling the future, foretelling things that are going to happen in the future. And there might be dreams that are warning dreams, like the one I mentioned with aluminum dust. So when you listen to the dreams and then act on the dreams, then you can improve your life, and you can improve your health, and there are numerous benefits to that.
Oh, I love that you've brought that in. It's made me think of, just naturally, it was something that I've done with my children from quite an early age, where often they'd get into bed with me in the morning. That's actually before the time where they actually ever went into another bed. Like, for many years they co-slept anyway, but would wake up and then all share our dreams with each other. And it was recently when I was with my shamanic group, our elder introduced us all sharing our dreams in the morning. So not everyone would share, because there just wasn't enough. There's 16 of us. But certain ones of us would share our dreams of that night that we'd had in the woods, and which I was just delighted by, because it's just like, any time to share dreams and talk about dreams, I absolutely love. But one thing she said that was really interesting, she's a psychotherapist, and she's Jungian trained, which I remember discovering, I think last year, that Jung was actually very influenced by shamanism. And so there's so much in Jungian tradition that's actually based originally in shamanism. And so that's her training, but obviously now she's moved into shamanism. And she was saying, because obviously the kind of Jungian traditions had the opportunity to be studied more, one of the things that's been discovered is simply sharing dreams like that when we wake up as a group has a profound effect on the, I guess, group coherence in terms of bonding and well-being. And it's one of those things that's so obvious, but it kind of like, you know, because we're so disconnected from that way of living, we always need science to tell us something that was just like in our bones. But I love that. It's just like, of course, such a simple thing to do, to just wake up and with whoever you're with, share each other's dreams. And as well as the power, the magic, the information in the dreams themselves, there's also what's being created between you as other, you know, fellow humans. That's another benefit that, again, we've just lost in our modern culture, but so easily reclaimed.
Yeah, dreams can, on a profound level, enhance our lives. And when we share them, we give them energy. And that means we give them attention. And then they will respond. You know, the mind will respond, and we will go deeper in our dreams. We'll go deeper in our dream work, and we will become better at dream recall. And
Yes.
So basically, the more energy, the more focus we give our dreams, the more they will give back to us. And
Yeah.
that's an important principle, that we need to focus on them. We need to give them energy.
Oh, I love that. In fact, here's a quite practical question that I get asked a lot, and I'm sure you do too, is when I'm working with clients and students, one of the things I will encourage them to do is to create this kind of relationship with their dreams. And some will say, I just never remember my dreams, or if I do, it's like fleeting, you know, snippets. And what I've found is exactly as you say, the more attention we give our dream life, the more that we value dreams, the more that we set the intention to dream, inevitably we will start to dream more, we'll start to remember more, they'll become more profound. And so I'd love to know if there's anything you'd like to add to that, because I found that there isn't, you know, if we start to place attention there, the relationship will change. It doesn't seem to me this fixed thing where certain people can't remember their dreams, but I'd love to hear your thoughts on that.
Yeah. Well, the first principle is give the dreams attention, and then most people will begin to remember more. There can be a chemical element to this also, because the brain needs certain nutrients in order to be able to recall dreams, remember dreams. So if some people lack those nutrients, then that can be part of the reason why they don't recall the dreams. And the main one is vitamin B6.
Really? Oh, how interesting.
Yeah. And so if there are people who don't remember dreams, even if they begin to pay more attention to dreams, then taking vitamin B6 can help. And that's another one. It's a soya product called lecithin. So those two nutrients, they are what the brain needs in order to recall dreams. So that's on a very kind of practical that can help people who don't recall their dreams. And you can with the vitamin B6, you can actually buy activated vitamin B6, and then you really start dreaming.
Wow. Okay, that's fascinating to know.
Yeah, so that's a little trick there. But then, if you still don't dream, or if you still don't remember dreams after having taken those remedies there, then from a shamanic perspective, the reason would be that you have suffered a soul loss. Mm-hmm. So that is not uncommon, that people who have experienced severe trauma and shock have fragmented of a part of themselves that has to do with the dream recall. And so if that is the case, then to have a shaman do a soul retrieval for you, bring back that aspect of the soul, then the dreams should come back then. So there are some cases where some extra work is needed in order to have a proper dream recall.
I feel like now I wish I'd asked you this earlier on, but then equally I'm thinking, well, we covered so much really juicy ground, we would have had time. So maybe we need to do another show on this. But I was going to ask you earlier, and I don't think I asked you this on our previous 2 episodes. Maybe I did. The first one we recorded quite some time ago, but I was thinking it would be really helpful actually to, and maybe we can just sort of do this, a very brief definition of this before we close. But I was thinking it would be helpful actually, I think, to have a definition of the soul and the subconscious in shamanic terms. So do you feel that's something you can do a kind of at least a little bite-sized version of, and then maybe we'll go deeper in another show?
Yeah, okay. I can give it a try. So if you look at the different shamanic tribal cultures, one of the things that they all have in common is that they see the soul as not just one unit, but they say that there are 3 main categories to the soul. And the first one you could call the vital soul. That's the part of the soul. They say if that soul leaves the body, you die. So that the vital soul is connected to breath and to air, and so when the last breath happens, then that vital soul leaves, and then the next soul is the free soul, and that part of the soul is capable of leaving the body, and that's seen that it will do that in dreams, for example. When we sleep, it will leave the body and it will travel into the astral realms and into other realms, and then come back into the body. And finally, the third soul is what could be termed the eternal soul. And so that is a part of our consciousness, part of our soul that is whole and complete and is always there, and it is connected also to a higher consciousness. So those are the 3 main categories of the soul. But the moment we fall asleep, you can say our conscious self disappears. And that in that moment, the subconscious self, or what you could call the dreamer consciousness, takes over. And so in a way you could say the 2 don't meet. The conscious aware self, that our daily waking self, is gone the moment we fall asleep, and something else takes over. And that is what we call the dreamer that takes over there. And that part of ourselves has to do with the subconscious mind. But when we fall asleep, then we enter into this very different reality where things that don't make sense in the waking state make perfect sense. So, for example, you may meet a giraffe when you have fallen asleep, and the giraffe may be walking down the street, and you don't question it. It makes perfect sense. And you may meet your grandmother who died 10 years ago, and that too makes perfect sense in the dreaming state. So that dreamer, that part of our consciousness, which also gives access to the subconscious mind, is in charge when we dream, and that basically means that we are in a different reality than in the waking state, and in shamanism, that different reality is seen to be in its own way as valid and as real as the waking reality, because it is consciousness, and it also has the possibility to be higher consciousness in that dreaming state. Yeah.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you so much. I'm glad I asked you to do that. You did a brilliant bite-sized job of that. So thank you so much. So I feel like you've given some really wonderful kind of next steps and, practical ways that listeners can more intentionally work with dreams. Is there anything else you think would be helpful to close on? Is there anything else you think might be a good, just practical next step that listeners can take?
Yeah, the main thing, I suppose, when you want to take the dream work to the next step is to get a dream journal and have a pen by the bedside and the dream journal, and then to make a point of writing your dreams down every day. That will give your dreams a lot of energy. That will bring attention and focus to your dreams, and then there will be a response also. But not only that, most dreams, when you maybe wake up in the middle of the night with a strong dream, and it may be in the third category, big dreams, shamanic dreams we were talking about, most dreams are gone when you wake up in the morning. You don't remember them. So by writing them down, even if it's in the middle of the night, you begin to have a collection of dreams, and you can go back and read the dream journal. And then some magical things begin to happen, because you can begin to see patterns, and you can begin to notice the dreams that were prophetic, that foretold exactly what was going to happen 3 years later. And you begin to understand things about yourself. You enhance your spiritual development, and there can be health benefits also. So the dream journal is the next step. It really takes the dream work to the next level.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Yes, that's a great thing to have mentioned. And I also love how you describe this almost like a cultivating over time this relationship with our dreams. I think, again, in our modern culture, we can have a very kind of instant gratification, like, oh, I've had a dream, I'm now going to go and Google the dream meaning. And I found that working with dreams in the way that you're describing, where we develop a relationship, we start to learn its language for ourselves, which we can only do by recording dreams and noticing the patterns, noticing the way our dreams speak to us, that I think we start to really mine the gold there. And I think the way you've just described it is wonderful. For me, that's been so much more valuable than kind of thinking that each dream almost like exists in its own right, and there's a kind of like answer out there that tells me what it means. Like, it feels to me that it's something that actually the more I've devoted to it and treated my dreams with reverence and like a willingness to understand, it's that's allowed me to have this much more powerful relationship with them. So I'd love to hear your thoughts on that before we close.
Yeah. From a shamanic point of view, the dreams are very often the soul speaking to you. especially when we are talking about the big dreams, but also the reflective dreams, also to come from the soul and moving you, pointing you towards your power and your strength. And so the shamanic way is to meet the dreams from the place of your heart, basically, and from your intuition, and then understand the dreams from that intuitive place, as opposed to interpret them according to a book. So what one symbol may represent for one person can be very different what it means to another. So in that way, it's good to learn to understand dreams from that intuitive place, and then also to discern the different categories of dreams. And like you said in the beginning, some dreams basically are exactly what they seem to be. And there are stories amongst indigenous people about that. For example, the Lakota has a story about a man. His name was Moves Walking. And he had a dream where the sun appeared to him, and the sun showed him how to make fire. So this were in the days before they had fire, before they could make fire. And so I think the sun showed him a plant called the soap weed, and it showed him how to take that weed and take a stick and then begin to spin the stick. And then an ember would come, and then a little flame would come, and then he could put it into some dry material, and suddenly there was a fire. So amongst those people,
I just got goosebumps when you said that. Amazing.
Yeah. So amongst those people, they say that they were shown how to make fire in a dream.
Wow.
So dreams can speak to us in many levels, and it's our intuitive understanding that will tell us what they mean.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. Yeah. It's I was just thinking, like, a modern day thing would be like looking up on Google, what does it mean when I get a plant, and then like it's just like, no, the answer's not going to come from there. I think that was such a beautiful example. Thank you so much, Chris. This has been, again, such a pleasure for me personally, and I'm sure listeners will be getting so much out of this too, so thank you.
Well, thank you. It's been a pleasure to be here.
Wonderful. Where can listeners find out more about you and your wonderful work? Again, we'll have the links on the show notes, but just for anyone listening and not wanting to go look on the show notes.
Well, my website is called northerndrum.com, and if people wish to know more, they can sign up on our mailing list, and then we will let you know about upcoming workshops. Occasionally I do workshops on dreaming also, so there is that possibility.
Oh, wow. Oh, brilliant. Okay, well, that would be a very wonderful next step after listening to this. Well, thank you so much, and until next time, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
What a glorious show. Here are my best bits. In shamanic cultures, dreams are often seen as one of the most powerful and important ways we can work with our soul and spirit. This is an important resource that we've lost contact with in our modern culture, but is something we can reclaim. The three kinds of dreams we spoke about are dreams that are simply working through the happenings of your days, reflective dreams, which provide guidance on things happening in your life, and finally, shamanic dreams or big dreams, which provide important teachings about things that you or your community need to know. Lastly, keep a dream diary. Write down your dreams as soon as you wake up. As you gather your dreams over time, you can start to look for patterns and revelations. Learn the language of your soul. If you'd like to get notes, including details where you can find out more about Chris, including his wonderful books, and links for everything else we spoke about this week, hop on over to the show notes, and they are at primalhappiness.co/episode 361. And if you don't want to miss out on next week's episode, head on over to Apple Podcast, Stitcher, or your app of choice and hit that subscribe button. That way you'll get each episode delivered magically straight to your device as soon as it's released. Thank you so much for listening. You've been wonderful. Catch you again next Tuesday.